Welcome back to Dragonfall. Fierschwing is understandably upset. This gets into some things I've been talking about both in this game and the previous entry in Shadowrun Returns about themes in literature and genre and how cyberpunk is about um, it's about politics and economics and business and how like the world keeps developing in ways that are great for perpetuating themselves and not for anything else. They are not good for the humans that reside in them. And to that same extent, the like it is a lesser approached part of the genre, but the destruction of nature and the um, it really goes hand in hand with sort of the upending of ethics and morality, that like if the vast majority of people who live in a cyberpunk society can't even don't even regularly see the humanity in their own fellow humans, or in this case metahumans, then like appreciating the you know non-analytical aspects of anything other than humanity is a whole other thing that's beyond, basically beyond conception for a lot of the people in the world. um I'm not familiar enough with the cyberpunk setting. I don't know what the whole dragon thing is about, and whether like they are not they are not all as feral as Fierschwing is, obviously. Um, so, given the one that we met in the last game, at the end of the last game, given what I know about Dunkelzahn, which is limited, but I know a bit, like they are still they are not merely forces of nature. They are not like antithetical to or deliberately in conflict with the world as it exists in Shadowrun or in Cyberpunk in general. Um, so this is an interesting thing for them to approach that I haven't really seen before in this kind of setting. Um, she looks at you sadly, longingly. Will you finish it, little elf? Will you end Fierschwinge? No, Fierschwinge. A forever task requires patience and faith. The next world could be better. I have been ripped from by my body, little elf, imprisoned in this girl, imprisoned in this cage, tortured longer than the span of your entire lifetime. And I have been defiled. The green is defiled, spoiled. There is no forever for me. Forever is dead. I do not want to sleep the long sleep. I want oblivion. End me, little elf. It's difficult because the right thing to do is to respect her wishes to some extent, but also, this gets into questions about bodily autonomy and the debate over um, um, human euthanization, and whether you can choose to end your life preemptively if your suffering is too great. And there's a lot of debate about this. It's not exactly a new topic, but in the last 20 or so years, I think there's been a redoubled debate over the ethicality of having to live in suffering, whether that's because of uh, horrible trauma, physical or mental, or whatever reason. And it's very hard to lay any sort of specific line on you're allowed to end your life or you're not allowed to end your life. Um, and, you know, a lot of it comes down to a lot of the discussions tend to come down to rationality and whether somebody can be treated as a rational actor in their own life. Do they have a grasp of their own situation that takes into reasonable account what that means? You know, it's generally frowned upon to let somebody who is gravely mentally ill or might have a very distorted view of the world do something to themselves that they might not grasp the full ramifications of, or grasp the possibility, the alternative, the great, you know, the different alternatives that might be available to them. It also gets into debates over suicide and suicide prevention and mental health, because there are a lot of people who take their own lives, and people who maybe in some cases that was the right thing, but in most cases probably they were just having a suffering that was momentary but felt infinite. You know, it's a very complex debate, and part of me wants to respect her wishes here, but part of me also says that, like, in this moment when she's seeing her own body defiled, even after all of the trauma she's had before, I don't think that the right ethical choice here is to respect her wishes without question. The Green needs you, Fürschwinge. You are her shelter, her shield, her shepherd. Don't abandon her. I cannot abandon what does not exist. The green is gone, the cold has won. These are both interesting points. No, the cold hasn't won. Don't forget the elves, they still tend the green. Her brow furrows and her head of stringy hair inclines. The elves? Yes. Look at Tir Nanog. Tir Terngire. I'm butchering those, just like I did in the last game, at the end of the last game. Elven cities devoted to the green, to keeping it safe. Her eyes widen as the memories return. They would build walls around it, as before. The green still lives, Fürschwinge. She holds her head in her hands. It lives? You are Fürschwinge. While you live, the green will live. The gaunt woman pulls herself to her full height, speaks as if to herself. While the green still lives, the task remains, until the last world ends. The vessel holding the dragon lifts her face to the sky. She cannot see. Perhaps it is not too late. Sleep. Sleep would bring healing. My nest. Her fragile form trembles, but she steadies herself. When she speaks again, her voice is calm, at peace. If you release me, little elf, I will sleep in the long sleep. I will sleep the long sleep. I will begin again, in the next age of the world. Allow her to return to her body. Sleep well, Fürschwinge, and goodbye. The gaunt woman drops to her knees, her face reflecting a series of emotions. Surprise, relief, appreciation, and finally, peace. The light exits her eyes, and she falls to the floor of her tiny cell, her body limp and lifeless. For a long moment, nothing happens. Then, without warning, the entire chamber fills with a blinding light. You can see nothing. All goes eerily quiet. And yet somewhere, just at the edge of your hearing, you think you can recognize the faint whispering of voices. They sound sad and far away. Just as you think you might discern the voices, there is a massive crash, and the entire chamber starts to shake. Disoriented, you stagger for several moments, still blinded and trying to recover. You steady yourself and your senses return, in time to see the faint form of the dragon disappearing in the distance. Then Fierschwinge is gone. My head tells me we released a dragon, but I can't help feeling we did the right thing. I'm surprised to hear you say that. The Firewing wasn't just any dragon. No, she wasn't. She was a legendary great dragon, and she was completely off her rocker. We set her loose like a caged bird. Blitz turns to you, and he cracks a wide grin. That was a badass play, Chief. 10 points for style, no question about it. Badass, huh? Dietrich smiles wryly. Well, then I know that we did the right thing. Come on, boss. Let's get out of here. Well, I'm reasonably happy with how that played out. I really don't like that these two consoles are separate, so I could have just, picked an option and killed her by accident, not knowing that there were other options. I think that's really interesting. I think in a vacuum, I don't like how it has come to this. Because I think a lot of the lead up for the last couple of missions has been sloppy. And I think the narrative tone that it suddenly switches to when we have this discussion with her, while welcome, is a little too late. It is still narratively effective. It still rings true. But I don't know. I think there are better ways to have done this, is basically what it comes down to. Unlock the chamber's exit door. Set the facility to self-destruct. I think? I don't see any reason why I would want to keep the place open. Nah, yeah. Warning, this process will lock down all further terminal access. Are you sure you wish to proceed? Hit the Y key. Base destruction commencing. System offline. You punch the button and alarm klaxons blare. An ominous rumbling sound fills the air and the walls start to shake. So presumably I could have done this with her still in here. And that would have ended it a different way. Yeah, it's just too easy to do the wrong thing with just the wrong selection. The logic in the logic diagram that they used for that series of exchanges is very bad, because this could have gone wrong by accident. Some tells me there's probably other things in this game that I did wrong by accident and didn't even know. That settles that. Come on, boss. Let's get the hell out of here. Right behind you. All right. The Cruise Bazaar. You step out of the van, climbing down into the tunnel leading back to your safe house. Just hours ago, you saved Berlin from fire and ash, from the would-be sacrifice of Dr. Adrian Valclair. It feels strange now, returning in secret, in silence. The other residents of the Cruise Bazaar go about their business, unaware of what almost happened here tonight. It's finally over. Your team and your kids are safe once again. And we're gonna come back and see everything through in the next episode. I'll see you guys then.